How's it going, everybody? Roseman here, bringing you another decklist video. Today I'll be going over my decklist video for the OP13 Yellow Jewelry Bonney leader. She is a 5,000 power leader with 5 life that says, your turn once per turn. This effect can be activated when you play a character with a trigger. You give up to 2 Rested Dawn cards to one of your leader or character cards. So if you hadn't guessed it, we're going to be running a very trigger-heavy deck. Let's dive on in. First up, we have 4 copies of the OP13 Lilith Searcher. She's a 1-cost 2,000 power with 1k encounter. On play, you'll look at 4 cards from the top of your deck, reveal 1 card with a trigger other than Lilith, and add it to your hand, then place the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order. It is important to note that this cannot pull the OP07 Lilith Searcher, but it can pull literally any other card with a trigger. So, fantastic card here. You run 4 copies of it. This would, in theory, trigger your leader ability, but you can choose not to activate when you play this, and play it when, or activate it when you play your next card that's probably gonna have higher than a 1 cost. But if, I don't say you wanted to put just the 1 onto the I think it's an OP7 or it's OP08 Jewelry Bonney, to get some, card draw. You can do it then as well. But we have 4 copies of that. Next, we have 4 copies of good old OP06 Onami. 2-cost, 3k power, 1k counter. It says on play, up to 1 of your leader or character cards gains banished during your turn. This is a fantastic second turn play. Give your leader banish, attach the 2 you rested to play this card to your leader, and then whatever Dawn remaining, either an 8k or a 9k swing, and just almost guarantee getting a card banished immediately. Also a very good one in late game, because again, it costs 2, and your leader ability lets you move 2, so you can give something banish and move the Dawn with your leader ability. Fantastic card. It does have a trigger, so it's searchable off the Lilith. Love this card. It's fantastic. Next, we have 4 copies of the aforementioned OP08 Yellow Jewelry Bonney. 3-cost, 4,000 power, counter plus 1k. It does have a Dawn times 1 ability. When a card is removed from your opponent's life, you draw 2 and trash 1 from your hand. So it's some on-board draw power. Really, really good there. Run 4 copies of it so you can find it, and that way you can get some extra cards into your hand as you're, bullying your opponent's life. Next, we have 2 copies of OP07 Roronoa Zoro. He's a vanilla, 5-cost, 6k, 1k counter. But the reason I have him in here is his trigger is if your leader has the egghead type, you can rest up to one of your opponent's leader or character cards. No cost restrictions. If you can hit this out of your life, that is an excellent trigger. You can just rest anything. Obviously, if you're playing at EMU matches, you want to target some of those blocker characters. There's quite a few targets for this Zoro. Really, really good trigger. Otherwise, it's not bad. It basically becomes a 3-cost 6k body with the leader's effect. So, not a terrible card to get. Next, I run 2 copies of OP08 Yellow Nami. She's a 5-cost 5k body with 1k encounter. She says, you may trash 1 card with a trigger from your hand on play, and then you KO up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 5 or less. Then if you have 3 or less cards in your hand, you draw a card. And then her trigger just says activate this card's on play effect. Super good for removal. Obviously not great with the meta with all the emus running around right now, but she is a very strong card. It's a good 5-cost body, and again with this Jewelry Bonney leader effect, you're getting a 5k body for 3 Dawn, so that's pretty cool. So we run 2 copies of her. We also run 2 copies of the OP08 S-Snake, 5-cost 6k body, 1k encounter. She says on play, up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 6 or less, other than Monkey D. Luffy cannot attack until the end of your opponent's next turn. And the trigger has activate this card's on play effect. Again, not super great into emu matches with all their replacement, but if it's early enough, you can stop some swings. But this is more for the non-emu matches, like the Aces, the Rogers, the Zoros. Being able to just stop one of their characters from being able to swing can be pretty good. We like to have some board control, and so yellow can really help with that. And S-Nick's pretty good, but it doesn't pump up too much, so we only run the 2 copies of her. Next, we have 3 copies of one of my favorites, OP09 Nico Robin. 6 cost, 6k body, 1k encounter. On play, if your opponent has 3 or more life, you trash up to 1 card from the top of your opponent's life. And it has a trigger, play up to 1 yellow character card with a cost of 3 or less from your hand. So, really, really strong card here. If you're seeing this on curve, or if you're just not able to get some damage through on your opponent, and it's late game, and they still have more than 3 life, you can use this to just eat up a life off of them, establish a 6k body, and again, with the leader effect, you're getting this out for 4. Really, really strong, really good. That trigger can be very great in late game to play, say, like a Lilith for some searching, or I have the other Lilith searcher in here as well, or like a Zeus, or, you know, there's a whole lot of really, really good low-cost targets that you can do with this Robin. So it's really fun. We only run the 3 copies of her, though, because, again, that effect... her main on-play effect isn't worth much when you're in that late game. So we run 3 just to see her in the early game, but that's it. Next, we go to our 2k counters. I run a single copy of the OP11 Zeus, 2 cost, 2k body, that says, on play, you may add 1 card from the top or bottom of your life to your hand in KO up to one of your opponent's characters at a cost of 5 or less. It doesn't pop up much. Every now and again, you want to see some removal in this. So Zeus can be really good, and that's why he's in there. Otherwise, he's a solid 2k body, so what does it hurt? I do have 3 copies of the PRB02 Otama, 2 cost, 0 power, 2k counter. She says, activate main. You may rest this character and add 1 card from the top or bottom of your life to your hand, and then up to one of your leader or character gains plus 3k power during this turn. And then she has a trigger, rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less. Really good card in some situational moments where you need to just buff your leader. If you can get this to stay on board, it can be done multiple times, obviously, because it's just a rest and take a life. You're not getting rid of this character. But you're probably only going to get this ability off 1 time before your opponent just swings into it for a free give, because it is a 0 power. But we run 3 of that because it is also a 2k, and that trigger's not bad to be able to rest some stuff. So we run that. Next, we run 3 copies of the OP13 Edison. He's a 3 cost body, 2k power, 2k counter. It says activate main. You may trash this character. If the number of your life cards is equal to or less than the number of your opponent's life cards, you draw a card. And then you can rest one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 3 or less. And then the trigger says draw a card and rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 3 or less. The trigger's really good in here. The activate main's kind of eh. It's mostly in there for the trigger, and it's a 2k counter. I've heard a lot of people ask why I don't run the OP07 Edison. The OP07 Edison, you don't get anything out of his trigger because you're not Vegapunk. So really not great in a Bonney build. But, you know, you could. They're both 2k counters. So if you're just looking to add or pad your 2k counter numbers, sure, run that one. But I run 3 of this guy because you can use him for some utility. Plus his trigger is really good. So 3 copies of him. Next, we have 4 copies of one of my favorite yellow triggers, OP07 Frankie. 4 cost, 5k power, counter plus 2k. He has a trigger of you draw a card, then if you have 1 or less life, you play this card. Really, really good if you find that in like your last 2 life, because you just establish a free 5k body and you draw a card. Otherwise, he's a super good 2k counter. You can basically get a 5k body out for 2 using this leader ability. So that's really cool, really fun. I like Frankie. He's a great card. Next, we go to our non-counter cards. I run 4 copies of the OP07 Lilith. That's a 3 cost, 5k power. It says on play, look at 5 cards from the top of your deck, reveal up to 1 egghead type other than Lilith, and add it to your hand. Then place the rest of the bottom of the deck in any order. Searchable for any of your eggheads, your S-Snake, your OP08 Nami, your Edisons are eggheads, your Jewelry Bonney is egghead, your Zoro's egghead. Some of these other cards we're going to go through here in a minute are also eggheads. So some good search into egghead. And it's a, again, for with this leader ability, it's basically a 1 cost 5k body. So that's pretty dope. The on play doesn't, or the trigger doesn't matter here because your leader isn't Vegapunk, so you'll never be triggering that one. But, you can't have it all, I guess. Next, we run 4 copies of OP06 Kikunojo. She's a 4 cost 6,000 power. On KO, if your opponent has 3 or less life, add up to 1 card from the top of your deck to the top of your life. And trigger, if your opponent has 3 or less life, you can play this card. Really good trigger, a 4 cost body that's a 6,000 power, and it has that really good on KO, so your opponents really aren't going to want to swing into her at all. So normally when I'm playing yellow, I don't like to hard play this. I like to only see her coming out of trigger. But with this one, I've found that I like being able to just play her normally because you're establishing a 6k body for 2 Dawn, essentially. That's unbelievable. It's really, really cool there. But we love to see a Kikunojo. Another one you could run in here, I could replace the Lilith with it, is the OP10 Basil Hawkins on KO. You trash an opponent's life. It's another one of those ones that will just, it'll stick, and your opponent don't want to swing into it. But, I like the searchability with the Lilith, and Kikunojo seems to stick pretty well. People don't want to remove it very well. So, next, I run 3 copies of the PRBO2 Boa Hancock, 5 cost, 7,000 power. She says, on play, you may trash 1 card with the trigger from your hand. Your opponent's rested leader, or up to one of your opponent's characters other than Monkey D. Luffy, cannot attack until the end of your opponent's next end phase. And then she has a trigger, you KO one of your opponent's characters at the cost of 4 or less. I want to clarify something, because I've had this question pop up at our locals quite a lot. If your opponent's leader is rested, it does not matter what their name is. She can freeze a Luffy leader. She cannot freeze a Luffy character. If we look in the text, it says your opponent's rested leader or up to one of your opponent's characters other than Monkey D. Luffy. It is specifying in the text a character named Monkey D. Luffy, not a leader named Monkey D. Luffy. That's just a clarifier. Again, I've seen this pop up at our locals quite often. This, excuse me, this can freeze, excuse me, goodness. This can freeze a Luffy leader. So your blue-purple, your purple Luffy, your purple-black Luffy, all of them can be frozen with this boa. You just can't freeze the Luffy characters. So, again, 3 copies of that boa. Next, I run 3 copies of the OP13 Stussy. 7 cost, 7,000 power. She is a blocker that has an on play. If your leader has the egghead type, you play up to 1 character with a cost of 5 or less and a trigger from your hand. Really, 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 really good card. I mean, you can establish 2 bodies with this, and you're basically getting it out for 5 because of the leader ability. Super cool, super good. Because so obviously this doesn't have the trigger. This isn't going to trigger your leader's ability, but because it does say play up to one of your characters with a cost of 5 or less and a trigger, that is going to trigger your leader ability. Plus you're establishing a 7k blocker, so that's really good. And then last but not least, One of the most important cards in the deck is 4 copies of OP13 Jewelry Bonney. 9 cost, 10k power on play if your leader has the Egghead type. This character gains Rush during this turn. Then your opponent adds 1 card from the top of their life to their hand. And then it has a trigger. If you have 1 or less life cards, rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 7 or less. This is like the game changer. This has been what Vegapunk needed. This is really good for this Bonney. This top end Egghead card is great, as well as it's kind of like Eustace Captain Kidd from OP10 in the form of you taking a life, forcing a life off of your opponent. Obviously, the Kid trashes it. This puts it into their hand, but you are establishing a 10k rush character as well. Fantastic card. I like this Bonney. It's really good. It can be a game changer if your opponent's down to 1 life. You put that card into their hand, and now, they're facing at least a 10k and then a 7k if you put the Dawn onto your leader. It can be more if you're putting it onto some of these 6ks. Essentially, you're making it a pretty dangerous game for your opponent by forcing that. Plus, with it going to their hand, they don't get their trigger. So, really, really cool effect there. I like that a lot. And then that's it for the deck. That's all the cards. If you guys have questions, concerns, you've got suggestions as to what I could change in the deck, if you think this isn't a decent build, I'd love to see it down in the comments below. But with that, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya.